you
Hello.
start?
Welcome to another episode of your Utah home journey.
Yes, welcome.
I'm Jason Christiansen.
I'm Adelin Ramos, and here is Joel Frost.
Yeah.
He is with Excel Appraise, and he is my favorite appraiser. Sorry, anybody else I won't particularly name. But he does great. The reason why is he understands why, and he'll tell you why. And so the appraiser does stuff. What do you do, Joel?
I just check out the house. I try to act like an expert buyer or seller and say, hey, how are other buyers and sellers going to react to every situation on this house or on this property, and give my opinion on that.
So, who do you praise for most, and what's the job description like? What do you do?
Yeah, so I would say probably 50% of our business is from lenders like you.
Just 50?
Yeah, most appraisers are about 95 or more. But
Okay.
I've kind of cultivated more of I do a lot of pre-listing appraisals for real estate agents. I do a lot of like estate, and we've got a little bit of a name going for divorce now. So like estate and divorce are like the other two big like reasons why people call. So I do a lot of estate, a lot of divorce, and then testifying in court for stuff like those things now. So.
Okay. So when someone orders an appraisal, what do they expect to be on that report? What does it say? Because we had home inspectors, Glenn, and he went through and he tells what he looked for. What's the difference between a home inspection and appraisal?
Yeah, so that's the fun question, because a lot of people think that I'm going to do like their job and my job, right? Like you're going to tell me how bad the furnace is and how it affects my value. And as an appraiser, I say like, hey, it's warm in here, so I'm assuming your furnace works. It might be emitting tons of carbon monoxide into the air, but if it's warm, I kind of go, okay, it looks good. It's cold inside in the summer, AC works, but like they might be in horrible conditions. So the home inspector's testing those things. Mm-hmm. I come in and go, okay, I'm assuming that's good. If I see some like a leaking patch on the roof, I'll say, hey, what is that? And I'll ask you, and if you don't know, I go, I just kind of guess, like, well, I don't know. And I'll call it out. But I'm going to either assume that it's a problem that has to be fixed, or I'll assume that it's not a major problem. But I have to make assumptions on quality things, because I'm only there 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And the home inspector's there for 3 hours. His whole job is done there. My only 15 minutes of my job is done there. The rest is at the office.
So in that 15 minutes, what do you do?
Look around, and I really just look like kind of like a showing for like a typical buyer or seller going to a showing. I just kind of look around the house, look at the rooms, take pictures, look around. Okay, and obviously I'm an expert. I've done this so much that I can look at a room and go, carpet, this trim, these windows, this type of lighting, any of it that's been updated, or is it all old? Whatever. Go to the next room, do the same thing. So I'm just kind of analyzing what do I see, what's been updated, what's not been updated, and getting a feel for the overall condition and quality of the house.
Do you measure it?
I measure the house.
How do you measure it?
Measuring is a good one. So this is a big plug. I just got off a phone call with Richard Stark from your office.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, and I measure it because the county is wrong a lot.
I was going to say, I've heard you have to measure from the outside. No, you have to measure from the inside. If you measure from the inside, the square footage is smaller. If you measure from the outside, you add, and you're like, what?
That's
no.
a good question. So you measure, I'll give you a quick. So we actually they kind of standardize the way we measure for loans. So we use a code called the American National Standards Institute, ANSI standards for builders, measuring code, so for appraisers. And we measure from the outside for everything except for a condo. So if it's a condo, if it has condo in the legal, we'll measure from the inside, because you don't actually own the condo, you only own the airspace. So condo's inside, everything else outside.
So do you take a tape measure in?
I don't tape measure, man. I hate those things. So I don't think it's really reliable. And I've talked to appraisers who use the wheel, where they wheel it around, and it will freeze up in the winter and stuff. So I just think the laser is the cleanest way to do it. I've been using my first week on this job, some guy was like, hey, here's this big fishing reel style tape measure. And I was like, there has to be a better way.
Those are a pain in the butt to use. We stake it in the ground and walk around the house.
Yeah, hopefully. So it was just, I was like, we got to find something. So my first week, I was like, there's a better way. And I found lasers and went, this is how we do it. And my supervisor was like, I don't want to do that. I'm like, well, I think we should let me do it for 6 months and see. And he goes, okay. And then I've never gone back, and he hasn't either. So
I like
I
it.
use laser tablets. You can gather it all on a tablet too. So yeah.
Yeah, because like right now we have as realtors we have a thing called Cubicasa. And so we can just walk with our phone and it's supposed to tell us the measurements, and I haven't found it to be right yet.
Yeah. Can I talk
They
about
are
it?
yes,
Okay,
please
so
do.
I have done some Cubicasa scans because there's some houses where like it's not going to be easy to measure. And I'm like, oh man, I better just scan this thing because I'm not going to be able to put this together on a measurement without like the professional protractor, GPS style lasers equipment, and I don't have that, so I go, I'm just going to scan it. So, but when I have been, there's a couple buildings where they say, hey, we want a floor plan, so I'll do the scan because I know they want a floor plan, a really nice floor plan, and Cubicasa will give you that.
It does, yeah.
And then I go, but let me just measure too because I don't find it to be accurate. So it's typically off by a little bit on the small side. That's what I've seen, but.
So it says the home is smaller than it really is?
Than what
or
it
the building,
is.
because they do a lot of commercial on those too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah,
A little bit smaller, not a lot, not like 10% even. It's like a couple percent we're talking.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I've done a couple, and I was just like, I don't think this is this measurement. So what I did was like, okay, I left the floor plan, but took the measurements out for people and put, buyers need to measure, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So
I have some agents that they go, hey, do both for me. I'm getting a listing.
Okay.
Do both, and I go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Why in the world are agents asking you to appraise the house? I mean, why don't they just get a broker's opinion of value or a certified market analysis?
Yeah. So like I've never done as many broker or realtor appraisals than I have in the past couple of years. Like since rates kind of jumped in 2023, sales have dropped. And so there's a lot less sales to analyze. I think you probably have noticed that. So agents who are used to a certain number of sales, they are really kind of like, I don't know if I'm looking at this right. I feel unsure, and I'm about to tell this person to stake their biggest investment on the line for my 50-50 guess. I don't like. They just feel like I can't do that. And so some agents will just plow through that 50-50 and go, here's what you should list for. But some agents go, I can't, I'm not going to advise you. I have to get an appraisal because I just don't feel good. So, and appraisers, we're used to scarcity of data because we're always appraising the one weird house out on 10 acres or the log cabin in the middle of American Fork. Like, we're always appraising that one unique house, and so there's no comps for it. And so we know how to, confront that. So that's why I think a lot of agents are like, I'm just not sure. I got to get a better opinion.
I agree with you. There are some certain houses that I'm like, there's no way I can find a house that it's like the similar to this one and give you an amount that is right. I can tell what your neighborhood around is going for, but it's up to you. It's up to the seller. But when you come with authority and say, well, we just appraise it because there's no comps available. And that houses, there are similar in any way, shape, or form, then it's different than when you just...
Log cabins in the middle of the city. That's like my best example.
Yeah, I've seen a couple in Southeast Provo, and I mean they're cool, but
just know anytime you see a log cabin in a city, some appraiser has said a lot of swear words over it.
Yes.
And I want to touch back to something we've said earlier. It's most effective to price the home right at the beginning. With everybody's like, oh, I'll start high and come down, like a make me move price. But then your house sits. So having it priced right with even industry experts, there's a big importance of hiring an appraiser. So another question I have is I see all the time, this house can only go conventional, no FHA financing, conventional or cash. What are the differences between the appraisal that you do for FHA and for conventional? Why would they list that?
So FHA has a really specific list of minimum property requirements, so it's the MPRs. And so it's stuff like if there's any peeling paint on the property, on the outside, it has to be fixed. You can't have any peeling paint anywhere. You can't have any exposed wood on the outside of the house.
What if the wood is stained? That's exposed.
Stained is okay as long as stained can be okay too.
Okay. It
has to be treated like a deck. As long as it's treated, but like after a couple of years, you see it start deteriorating. If it's untreated, then we say, hey, you gotta treat it, or you gotta pay
Why do they care if it's treated?
Just because wood deteriorates really fast in the elements, and so they just want to make sure it doesn't deteriorate. But wood, conventional, if you have a cracked window, conventional doesn't necessarily care, but FHA says we want you to talk about it and tell us if it's a safety issue or not. Handrails going downstairs. They want us to check the attic, like get in the attic actually and see inside the attic for FHA. So there's all there's a whole list of things, and it's not really that comprehensive. And even when there are FHA issues, I don't think they're that expensive to fix. And like the big ones, like someone's like, "Oh, it can't go FHA," and I go, "Why?" And they go, "Well, the roof's shot." And I say, "Well, conventional's not gonna let that fly either." So I don't know what you're thinking. So if it's the big stuff, no one's taking it. No underwriter's gonna take it. So it's really like small electrical, small peeling paint, blah, blah. I don't even just to kind of dispel one myth, on FHA, I don't even have to have flooring. They don't have to be carpet or anything. It can just be the bare subfloor.
Yeah, it has to have a floor, right?
It has to have a floor.
Right. If you have a hole in the floor, that's not going to work.
Holes in the
FHA
floor.
or conventional.
Yeah. So
Same thing with holes in the walls and missing windows and.
Yeah. So that's it's just standards that I do have to check. I got to do like a mini property inspection. My voice is cracked. I got to do a mini property inspection for the FHA and the VA.
Okay.
So
Nice.
So is there like a difference, or is it like the same? I know that FHA asks us to check for termites, but do VA does the same thing, or?
I know that. I mean, from what I know VA requires a termite inspection. I don't know about FHA, to be quite honest with you, but I know VA makes you get you order it. I don't do anything with it, so you order it, and then, but yeah, I mean VA has. I mean, they're pretty similar requirements. So
Yeah, they just are named different.
Slightly higher. It's really just a slightly higher minimum standard of a property.
Okay.
So that's why when you see that, they're just saying this one's a little rough and might not pass. And I've been in houses where they say that, and I'm like, I think this would pass. It's rough, but there's nothing unsafe here. It's just old and kind of dated.
What are the biggest safety standards that you flag in appraisals?
Mm-hmm.
What are the appraisal required repairs?
Yeah, peeling paint is like hands down number one. Sometimes stuff with water heater, missing smoke detectors or no carbon monoxide detectors, stuff like that. Those are the really common ones. And again, that's like really inexpensive to fix.
Is that on FHA and conventional or just FHA?
FHA.
Okay.
Just FHA. And then anytime if you have two wires twisted together outside of a junction box, anywhere, I have to call out. You have to always enclose wires in a junction box whenever you splice them. So just little weird electrical things, probably. That electrical might be the number one, just weird little electrical things. Yeah.
And then I want to hit one thing really quick for anybody listening. On FHA, the paint chips need to be not edible. That's so if you're cracking and peeling paint on the walls, that's bad. But if you just scrape it all off and now it's on the ground, that still doesn't work.
No, it doesn't work. Yeah.
Wow.
Paint chips are edible if you leave them there, right? So, yeah, I don't, they even will say, hey, if you I always tell people, hey, if you're scraping on the exterior, vacuum it up outside too, because it can seep in the ground, which is, FHA makes me check that it's not on the ground either.
Oh, wow.
So it doesn't get into the soil.
Right. So yeah, if you're like, oh crap, we've got cracking and peeling paint, this is a lower price point home, we want to move it, our offers are probably going to be FHA. Paint, if you went nice and you're painting it yourself, a few $100. But throw drop cloths down, throw something down to make sure you get the chips off.
Yep.
You want that away.
Is it because of asbestos? What is the real reason?
So in 1978, the United States outlawed, I don't know if that's the right word, they banned, whatever the word is, lead-based paint. So it used to have lead in it. And then after 1978, you couldn't use lead for housing, for taking into a house. So they're just basically saying, hey, any house that's older than 1978, if there's peeling paint, you got to fix it, because we're gonna err on the side of caution and just say you got to fix all peeling paint. So it's just lead.
Yeah.
And the dangers of lead.
So we do, as realtors, whenever we're showing something that is 1978 or older, then we have to give them a pamphlet. We have to give them the information so people know what's there. But if the house is newer and still has paint chips, they're still going to have to go after them.
If the house is newer and has paint chips on the inside, we won't care. If the house is newer and has exposed wood on the outside, then that could be a problem.
That could be a
exposed
problem.
wood
Okay.
on the outside is a problem.
Okay.
It doesn't matter the year of the house.
Okay. And then have you found anything that is just like way different? I mean, we're talking about cabins, right? And so in that case, cabin, it's like really hard to
yeah.
to go. But like, is there, besides cabins,
Geodesic domes.
something?
Geodesic dome.
Yeah.
I've never appraised. I wouldn't say no to a geodesic dome.
Why?
Sometimes A-frame homes. I think a lot of underwriters have a problem. They just.
What about basement homes?
I've never
low
appraised
down.
an only basement home, but it's definitely a niche home. And like, let me give you a swear word to appraisers.
Okay.
In appraising, the one swear word is the word you like to use, unique.
Unique.
This house is unique, and appraisers hear unique and go, what?
Oh.
Unique. And it's because I know the underwriter is going to look at me and go, he said unique. We don't like unique. We like things to fit inside this pretty little box.
Yep,
and then we'll lend you a ton of money, but it's got to fit in the box. And if it doesn't fit in the box, no money for you. So like, that's that. So anyway, anything that's unique, a cabin in a city, geodesic dome, basement homes, that's where it's no good.
Yeah. The other day, actually, I show a house that it was a circle, and top and bottom, and it went like the price was like so high in the beginning. It was on the 500s, and I think it's on for
So
like
a
380.
courtyard in the middle of it?
And no. It had one of those. I think it's like 50s. Fireplace, kind of like the Brady Bunch fireplace, that
In the
that
middle
orange
of the
one.
home?
Yeah, in the middle of the home, because
Love it.
that was kind of like the base of the ceiling.
Oh, wow.
And so when we went in, I just told my buyers, this is a really different house. You need to be aware of that, because you can't tell them you should not like it, or let's just go. I'm not going to direct them like that. I mean, if they like it, they like it, and I put an offer on the house they want.
Yeah.
But just so you guys are aware, this is a very different house, and it's in Orem.
You can say unique.
Southeast Orem.
I
Yeah.
just don't say
No, it was just like different because.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about it when we're talking about like unique homes and like what makes unique homes difficult, Joel? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
So like why they're hard is like a classic example of a non-unique home is like a split level in the middle of Sandy, Utah. Like there are so many split levels in Sandy, Utah. Whenever I get that appraisal, I'll underbid it just to make sure I get it because I want to do that appraisal. It's so easy because there's just there's 500 of them that have sold. I have lots of data to pick from.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find several homes that are like that home that have sold. I'm gonna have a really good idea. Whereas when you get a log cabin in American Fork, it's like I have to go find a couple other log cabins in cities that have sold, and it's like there are probably only a couple log cabins in American Fork, but none of them have sold.
So wait. Why do you care when they sold? Why do you care?
Yeah. So you're trying to get to the guts of the appraisal. Good job. So I care because we're trying to say, hey, how does the market currently react to this house? And the best way of doing that is saying, hey, here's a home that just sold. It's just like this, and I have a pretty good opinion of what I think this house is worth now because of how that sold, how that one sold, and how that one sold, and they're all like this house. So when you get a geodesic dome or a basement house, it's like, man, I can't find any of those. I have to so now I'm like I have to go look and go, okay, there was a cabin that sold 3 years ago on AF, and there was this home over here that sold 3 years ago on AF, and there was this much difference. Well, one of those same homes just sold just last month, so I can go see what I can kind of say they were this different then, and now I'm going to apply the same difference here. So I start getting a little more abstract in my way of like pinpointing this thing, but so it's just a lot easier if I can just triangulate it, going, that's the same, that one's the same, that's what this is worth. So it's just harder to get the data.
So another thing I want to illustrate really quick. So Joel is illustrating when he does appraisal, like this is how much it's worth. I can prove how much this is worth. And the person who orders the appraisal most of the time is the lender.
Yeah.
The reason the lender's ordering the appraisal is so we know if we can foreclose on the home.
Yes.
We don't want to know if you're getting a good deal. We want to know, can we recoup our cost if you fail on your promissory note?
Yeah.
So a lot of times people are like, well, why does the appraisal always come at the end of the purchase price? It always comes in like, oh, isn't this convenient? And I was like, well, actually, all the lender wants to know is is that where it is? So how often do you come in under or over, and like what's it like when you're like, oh?
Yeah. So and that's I say the same thing. I say, hey, the lender, what is market value? And I go, look, the lender, the real thing I'm here to do is tell the lender that if you get hit by a car tomorrow, what do they own? Because they're going to end up owning your house again. And so that's what my job is. Like, that's the real question they're asking me. And so everyone's tied to that question. So I'm answering. So say the question again. I kind of went off on to back up what you're saying.
I can't even remember the question.
So the question is,
go.
why is like
what
happen if it's more or less?
Yeah. So you can cut this together.
Yes.
Okay. So appraisers, they'll find, a couple comps, and they'll go, okay, I have a range of these comps from 300 to 350. Well, your house's contract price is 340. And I go, okay, that's in there. I'm just going to say 340, right? Or but if I say, hey, my range of comps is 280 to 320, and you're at 340, then it's going to come in low. But even if you're at the low end of my range, and I go, hey, my range is 340 to 380, and you're at 340, a lot of appraisers will go 340, even though they could easily go. Just saying, a lot of appraisers. I'm not saying I do this. I'm not admitting anything here. Okay. What I'm saying is a lot of appraisers do this. They don't want to stick their neck out if they don't have to. They go, well, all they need is 340. And if anyone ever sued me, I only want to be liable for that 340. So I don't know.
Why would an appraiser then have the appraisal for over contract price?
Yeah, I mean, there's times where, I'll be in that range where it's like, okay, the contract price is 340. I'm 340 to 380, my range on my comps, and I'll go 370. Like, I'll just put in the middle. Like, because I'm not really afraid. I don't know. Some appraisers kind of live in fear. I don't really live in fear. I just go, well, if it's in the middle, they kind of need to know that. Could I have went to 380? Potentially. That would have been the very top. But, like, am I okay to say 360?
So
Sure.
do you change your way of seeing things when an appraisal is asked or ordered by a lender than when it's ordered by a homeowner then?
I don't really change anything. The only difference is typically when the lender orders from me on a purchase, because the realtor's involved, I do know what you want. Mm-hmm. I do know what you want. If he's just doing a refinance, I don't know what they want. And so It's the same as if someone's getting divorced. Well, in the divorce situation, both people are going to tell me exactly what they want. and when grandpa dies, the kids are all going to tell me some sort of information.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everyone's always telling me something. I always kind of know what everyone's expectation is. Not that I care about any of them. Probably the most free-minded appraisal is for a refinance because I don't know what he wants. And unless he instructed the borrower to tell me what they want, then I don't really know.
Okay. So do you get, because there is a specific time or date to do an appraisal, and do you get usually people going to see, or is it?
Going to meet me?
Yeah, go to meet you.
Going to meet me? Yeah.
And more buyers, more sellers? What do you get more?
So buyers are the least. I rarely meet buyers there. Like, kind of when I meet buyers there, I'm like, this is some type A personality like buyer. Like they want to be really involved. They want to make sure that they know what's happening. And I get it. And it doesn't bother me. I just go, okay. Like, buyers never meet me there. Sometimes the buyer's agent wants to meet me there, and I welcome it. A lot of times the seller's agent wants to meet me there, welcome it. I don't ever need the seller to leave. So when I schedule, I always say the seller can stay. Like, I don't want anyone to leave for me. I'm only going to be there 15 minutes. So I do meet a lot of sellers there. That's probably the person I meet the most. And then now it's like, 50% of the homes we'll go to are vacant, and then the rest is just a scattering of those people. But rarely is the buyer there.
Is the buyer. Okay.
Yeah.
And are the sellers telling you things like, oh, this should be more, or this should be less, or this should be?
I don't think so. I mean, that's probably why, and to be quite honest with agents, if any agents are watching, I would maybe advise your sellers to bounce, is because you don't want them to be like, I just don't want them, I would hate it if they spoiled something and be like, well, when the basement flooded, we had it fixed up. We didn't even need to call the insurance. We just did it. We did it the next day. It's like, why did it flood, though?
Yeah.
And they go, well, we didn't really know. So you fixed the damage, but you don't know why. No. Okay. So so that's why you might not want them there, because they might spill something.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So.
Yes.
So, like, when you're going through the home, it's probably common for the sellers to ask how much you think it's worth.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do?
Oh man, I've learned from some bad experiences to just not talk about it. So like, I would sometimes go, they go, oh, we need about this, and I go, oh yeah, I mean you're pretty close, and like let's say I get back to the office, and they're not close. So now I've told them they're close. They do go take the next couple steps in their life, and then I come back, oh it was lower, and then they call me really pissed and then it's like, so now I just don't talk about it. Or the opposite would be if I'm there doing it for like a pre-listing or like mom and dad died, whatever, and they go, hey, we really need this value, and I go, oh, I don't think it's gonna hit that. By the time I get back to my office, I'll have an email canceling the appraisal. So it's like, okay. And then I even had one time where I was like, I told them no, they canceled, and then I did the work, and I was like, actually, they probably were good. so that's why I don't talk about it anymore, because like,
Wait, so how much of the appraisal work do you do besides the 15 minutes?
yeah, so we go to the house 15 minutes, we go drive around, take pictures of the homes we're going to compare it to. That takes about a half hour, just viewing homes. And then sitting down at the desk, it's anywhere from 2 to, a really hard appraisal might be like 8 hours, but that's a really difficult appraisal. Like, it just took a lot of time. So,
Cabin.
what's that?
The cabin.
Yeah, the cabin in the middle of the city
Yeah.
definitely is the one.
Yeah.
That's an 8 hour.
Okay.
So yeah, anywhere in there, and like we try to price accordingly based on how much time we're going to spend. So
How often do you get told that you did your job wrong because the home has 5 bedrooms and you only counted 2?
yeah, that's a really common thing. So a lot of misconceptions with that in appraising is they just don't understand how it's reported on the appraisal, because appraisals are reported weird because banks want the information.
What the
kind of
devil
weird.
is grade?
Yeah, what's above grade versus below grade? Yeah.
Tell us.
Yeah. So like someone will say that is the most common one is, you said I only have 3 bedrooms. I have 5.
Yeah.
And I go, well,
They didn't get over a
We-
B plus
we-
average, and I can't
we
count them
do
as a below
have-
grade.
yeah, so we say, hey, you have above ground square footage and we have below ground square footage. And for the purposes of what lenders do, they want those separated. So I did say you had 3 above grade, and then in the basement I said you had 2 more. So you do have 5. There's just nowhere in the appraisal where I lump them together and say 5. So that is that's like the number one like misconception on an appraisal. So
Okay. And a lot of people want to see it. I mean, the buyers get the appraisal, but they always ask us as realtors, what does this mean? How do I read it? What do I do? And we tell them the basics.
yeah.
But what are the specific points that you can tell us that it's just
man.
this would be like, don't think about the other one. Just, check this and this.
Yeah, I like one cheat code. Like, obviously, you're going to open the appraisal. You're going to go look at the value, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to do one other thing, and this is like one thing I recommend, just go check the square footage that the appraiser said, especially, and then compare it to the listing that you're looking at. Because
So really quick, on appraisals that lenders order, you're almost always the bottom of page 2 for value,
Yeah.
and then you're going to check condition. Is this subject to completion? Is this as is, or is
That's
it
true.
required repairs? Right?
Yeah.
So down to the bottom
all
of
list
page
repairs.
2.
Yeah.
Where else are they looking?
And then go look for square footage, because that's like
Where is that?
so it's going to be right above those numbers in the grid where there's like the subject property. That's what we call the home we're appraising, and then there's going to be a couple comps next to it. The comps are the comparable sales.
It's like a
we
table.
call them comps, and just look at the square footage of the house and go, does that match what they advertised? Because if it doesn't, that might be the reason why we came in low here. Like, that's the number one reason we come in low, is because the 2 numbers don't match. So that's one. And then even if they came in at value, if it's advertised low, or if it's advertised with too much, I would still probably want to talk about it. So
Okay.
I do like, but then I mean, I could talk about 2 hours. I have a whole class about how to read an appraisal for realtors, because there's so much there that you need to know. So,
And they always ask us.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But that's one extra one to look: value
Yeah.
and square footage, and check if there's repairs that need
Yeah.
to be done. So
Right.
Yeah, subject to completion. That's the worst. Years ago I missed subject to repairs, and I got a closing, and the underwriter said, "I'm not funding on this loan
yeah,
until this thing is done." I was like, "What are you talking about?" Like,
Oops.
yeah.
Yeah.
A well-trained lender now knows to look for that, and they start working on it fast.
Yes.
Right.
So.
Yep. So, tell us a special case, one of those cabins that you found, or like a specific house, and how was it difficult? Was it like, I mean, it was in the city, but did you use other cities? What other cities did you used?
Kind of the quintessential example of that is anytime you appraise like a manufactured home. Manufactured homes, like there's not a ton of them, but there's
What is a
enough.
manufactured home?
Yeah, manufactured home is a home like most people would call them like a mobile home. Is what you think of. But you can get a loan on a double wide when there's two pieces of the home. You can get a loan. FHA does loans on the. I think is there a conventional program for manufactured? Okay, so there's a couple programs where you can get it on a double wide, not on single wides. But the double wides, when they're attached to a piece of land, they can sell as real estate, and that's when an appraiser is going to get involved. And there's not enough of them that sell in any one city. So like if I have a mobile home in Harriman, manufactured home in Harriman, my comps are probably going to be one maybe in Harriman, one in West Jordan, a couple up in West Valley, but like they're just not close. You have to expand your parameters for searching. Like so that's kind of that's the pain is like, and that's why agents call all the time. Because like I looked at a mile, there's nothing. It's like I know.
Yeah.
So it's just harder. So I don't know. More
So
difficult.
it's and okay. So I work real estate in Mexico, and over there appraisals. Appraisals. Oh well, not in the city. Anyways, so in real estate in Mexico, when you do an appraisal, they check the materials of the house. That's what is the value. Like if the house is brick, if the house is, block, if the house. They're rarely houses of wood. They are like some, but it's like super super rare, and it was a flop over there. So so over here I don't see that. Like over there it was just like, okay, if your house is brick, then it values for more. If your house is this and that, and so like materials were super important, more than how much the houses around it were worth it. And so over here is different.
Very different.
Very different. So if you can't find any comparables, then you have to go further and further and further until you find something.
You go further out. Yeah.
You don't take like for appraisers, it's not a problem if the house has a single pane window instead of double pane or triple pane. It's okay. It's the same.
I mean, it can't. I mean, I would like to find everything the same, but like you're just trying to find the most similar thing. So, like, and talk a little bit about materials. Like, everyone loves a brick home. So brick is still good. I think. I mean, it's not going anywhere. It's not going to deteriorate like stucco. You have to paint it like hardy. So like
they do paint it, which
they
is
do
wrong,
paint brick. They do paint brick, but people can have their opinion.
Yes.
But brick is good. So like if I'm appraising a brick home, do I want to find other brick homes as comps? Yeah. But if I can't, I can always go, that brick makes the quality of this home maybe a little higher. So I'm gonna make adjustments for that when I do compare it to other homes that don't have brick maybe. So it does still, but it's not like Mexico and like islands. Any island they always build with cinder and everything. So
Wait, have you appraised any homes on islands?
no, I'm just as I traveled, right?
Have you appraised any islands?
Never an island, yeah.
I want to buy an island.
only licensed in Utah. So.
Okay.
All right. So talking about license, what schooling do you have to be an appraiser?
So in real estate, the appraiser license is, I think, the hardest to get by 3 or 4-fold. It's really hard.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's really hard. So it takes a couple years at the very least, and the reason is because it is an apprenticeship program. So you have to find like anyone can go to the school. Anyone, like you actually have to have a college degree now, and even that's like the doable part. If you put in the time, you're going to get it. But finding a supervisor to say yes, I'll train you. That's really hard. Like my very first day of my very first class, there was 30 kids, and like the teacher said, hey. Who here has an instructor or a supervisor? And only 3 of us raised our hands. And I didn't realize how rare it was at that point. My buddy talked me into this. He had to twist my arm into it and to do it. I was like, okay. So then he goes, hey, everyone else, it's not too late to get your money back. Like today is the day to get your money back. And he goes, but for those of you who want to stay, let me teach you how to get a supervisor. The easiest way to get a supervisor is if you find an appraiser and you marry them. Then they'll probably train you. And then the next easiest way is if you find an appraiser and you marry one of their kids, then they'll still probably train you. So he goes, other than that, you're kind of on your own. It's just not going to be easy. You have to make a friend somehow and talk them into it because it's just not. That's the hardest part. So becoming an appraiser, the supervisory issue, if you can get a supervisor, I honestly think you should stop what you're doing and do it, because this license is so cool to have. And once you have it, like, you can go anywhere. If I wanted to move to any state, I could just write to their division of real estate and say, hey, I have it in Utah. I want to come to Rhode Island. And they'd go, great, pay our dues, and you're good to go. So it's really a cool job. I like it. So
Cool.
really a lucky thing to get into.
So one of the things that you're talking about is how cool it is. So what are the coolest things that you have found?
I don't know. I'll brag this all day long. I love animals. So like one of the benefits, the side benefits, is I meet all sorts of cool animals. Like, I love animals. I meet all sorts of cool people. I've been in scary situations too. But
what? Tell us one. I need to know.
Like scare. Like there was this one time, I was in this house, and you get really good at like. When you're in the basement of a house, you get really good at knowing what's above you because you were just there. I always do the main floor and then go to the basement. And I was in this basement, and like, I was like, man, there's a wall here. There should be a room here because I know there's a room right up there. And I was like, man, there should be a room here. Did you guys not? There's no basement here. She goes, well, did you need to see it? And I was like, oh, I kind of need to see it. Yeah, I need to see the room. So she like goes into this little linen closet. There's only a linen closet on the wall, and I opened it, and it was a linen closet. I went, oh, it's not that. That's not the door. There's no other doors. Where's this room? So she like Scooby-Doo lever pulled, and the whole closet like opens back up in, and it's this room, and there's like all this growing equipment, and there's nothing growing, but there's a ton of hydroponic like PVC tubes everywhere with UV lights.
One of two ways. So
and so she and I was like,
tomatoes.
oh, and she said, we grow a lot of tomatoes.
Uh-huh.
And I said, yep.
There's a really good market for that.
sure
Tomato
you-
lotion, tomato clothing.
Tomato oil. Yeah, dude. So I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting. And then just like, there's been homes where you show up and like the door's been kicked in, and it's like, oh, it's vacant. The door's kicked in, and you're like, I don't know that I want to go in here.
Yeah.
What
Is
about-
there
what am I
somebody
walking into?
there?
So I'll call the agent. Hey, are you close? Because your listing just got broken into, and I'm about to walk in, and I would prefer to not do this alone if that's okay. But anyway.
Wow.
So just, I mean, I'm not nothing. I mean, there's always drug paraphernalia or some weird like, thing.
So do you have to, because I mean, when it's like a meth house that you're appraising, do you have to go like all hazmat?
I mean,
how do you
I don't
do
know that
that?
I know about meth, right? Like typically they've crossed the meth bridge before I get involved.
Okay.
Hopefully.
And they've never ordered an appraisal and said, oh, it's positive for meth.
Go for
But
it.
we'll
get it
we're
remediated
gonna
soon.
wait. We're gonna wait until you,
Appraising.
and as long as the value is good, then we'll fix it. So like typically,
Okay.
once they find meth, they're fixing it, and then they go, it's fixed. Okay, appraisal.
And then you can go
Yeah, that's
appraisal. Okay.
typically how a meth goes.
Okay.
Well, and typically in the process of loans, the client, agent, whatever, gets a home inspection first,
Yes.
and then the appraisal.
Yeah.
I think in the perfect world, you cross the bridge of, does this thing work? And if it works, you go, okay, now what's the value for the bank? And so that's the order of operations. Think back to elementary school math. What's the order of operations? First contract, then inspection, then appraisal.
Well, but the thing is, like, and that would be in a perfect world. But I've seen houses where they're listed, and they said, "Oh, by the way, this is a meth house, and the owner is not doing anything, and it's up to you." And so I'm like,
Aren't you supposed to report it to the health
I mean,
department?
they do, and that's why they have to disclose it. But then so it's out there, and like you're saying, a perfect world. You go through the steps, and I guess they went through the steps, and then decided, never mind. If somebody want to buy it, they can buy it. We're not doing anything for it, and then there come investors without needing an appraisal and just buy it and fix it.
So let me answer that directly. Then, if I got involved, and someone told me that was the case, I would disclose it on the appraisal, and then I'm going to give the appraisal to this underwriter, and this underwriter is going to go, no.
Nope.
They're gonna pitch a fit.
Yeah.
So if I find out about it, I just have to say to the bank, here's what you're lending on.
Yeah.
There's meth. And they go, no, we're not. We're not lending
Yeah.
on meth. And then it will going to come back, and you're going to say to the seller,
told
can't
you.
buy it.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, like, that has happened to me, figure out. And my buyer was just like, well, I'll have to see into the cost of doing those changes or cleaning the house, added to the cost that they would have for remodeling and the money that they were going to get, not from a bank, but from a private lender, to see if it would work. But at that point, it's just like, well, an appraiser doesn't go, you're just inspecting, but it will go after. So you have to still, like, after a certain amount of time, you still have to disclose the house had a myth. Yeah. So it's,
I, like, meth, I don't know, cost of meth is, like, just for people listening, it's only about $4,000 to $6,000, I think. Like, I just had one.
To remediate.
He's
not selling meth.
Not to buy. I'm not.
His cost for selling meth.
I'm talking about fixing it. We just flipped a house and it was the highest meth, dude. I didn't even know the scale went this high. Like normally it's like 17, 20. Oh, you got 35. And I thought 35 was about as high as it ever got. So we just flipped a house and we got a meth test, and it came back and it said 687. I was like,
what?
I obviously don't understand something, and I called them. I was like, "Hey, can you tell me the reading?" They're like, "Yeah, it's 687." I was like, "What does that even?" I thought that was off the scale.
Just go sitting in there.
And they're like, "Yeah, dude, you that was Breaking Bad. Like, your house was the center point." I was like, "Okay, cool." And I'm like, "How much is it to fix?" He goes, "It's not that much harder. It's only another couple washes, and it's easy." I'm like, "Okay, cool, good."
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people get scared when meth is in the panoramic view, but
black mold is worse than meth. That's probably the worst thing to repair.
Black mold will get you if you got it. Black mold would be the worst, but meth is fine for grown men probably and women who aren't going to have any more children. But if you're not that, I don't think it's not good for you. You should not be around.
Yeah.
Well, then meth. Replace the carpet, maybe.
Any soft surface, any wood probably you got to replace.
And then anything else you can just treat, wash, paint idea.
Yeah.
That's a topic for another class. Okay. Yeah. What is the coolest house you've seen and why?
Oh man, I mean, there's been a couple. Like there was one I got asked to do. They were filming a video. They were filming a movie, and they wanted like Channing Tatum and Brad Pitt, and like they had like this whole list of actors, and they're like, we have to show that we can foot the bill for these actors before the actors were scheduled. And so we don't have the cash, but we do have this house, and we want to use the house as collateral for this agreement. And it's like, okay. And so they tell me the house, it was like this 200-acre, like 65,000 square foot house in Hobble Creek. And I was like,
oh, I think I know which one it is.
I know, I can't really talk about it. But it was cool. I mean, it had everything. It had everything.
Yes.
And pool. The pool was like a water park. It had like a massive basketball court, a bowling alley, a shooting range, like a 27.
So you're telling me you needed to come back on the weekend when they weren't there, and you had to bring some other appraisers to do a more thorough inspection? It's going to take about 3 hours.
Okay, was it the one that has the holes in curves so everybody can hear you?
Oh, not that one. I don't think it was that. If it was, I didn't know that was a part of it.
That was, if it's the one that I'm thinking, it had like,
crazy.
Anyways.
And like the master suite. We walked in the master, well, we don't call it master, the primary suite. Walked in the primary suite, and like it was just this massive room. And like way over in the corner, there's a bed. I was like, there was the only thing in the room was the bed way over there. I was like, okay. Whatever. Like, I didn't even know what you would put in a master suite that was, I mean, the master suite was at least 2,000 square feet, just the suite. I was like, this is crazy. Yeah, dude, this is how the other half lived, man.
That's like our first home could fit in the.
Yes.
Yeah, seriously. Homes could fit inside this room. It was crazy. So that was a fun one. I've seen some fun ones. I've seen some fun homes.
Okay, so my last question I can think of: if someone wants to improve their value, what are the things for the least cost they get the most swing? Because this is what I hear all the time. People are like, I replaced all my carpet, I painted the whole house, I replaced the countertops, and I'm like, okay, well, what? Like, well, we put carpet back in the carpet, and then we took out the linoleum, and we put the vinyl and
LVP.
then, LVP, and then we took out our Formica and we put in the cheapest composite countertop. I was like, well, how much it cost you? And like 20, 30,000. Like, well, you just wasted 20 to 30,000.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's a bold statement. No, I don't like the one thing when people call me and that's kind of what people always ask me, like, hey, I want you to appraise my house for my dad's estate, but we also might remodel it. So can you give us tips on like what? And I always just say, hey man, like the number one thing I see that does increase your value is more than what you're going to spend is your kitchen remodel and then any basement unfinished. So finishing basement and kitchen remodel, I think go to town on those. But like everything else, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's dollar for dollar, but like, you know, if I told you, hey, go spend 20 grand here and it nets you 22 grand, are you going to go?
No,
Yeah.
not really.
So
Never mind. Never
why can people spend thousands of dollars on remodeling the house and
Yeah.
it doesn't increase value?
Yeah, because like I just did one. This guy, you know, nice dude. He's in Harriman. The house is about 15 years old, right? So a 15-year-old house has kitchen cabinets and has kitchen countertops, and they were granite and they were solid wood cabinets, and they were fine. They're not even close to the end of their life. But this guy had ripped it all out and did a whole new kitchen, and it was like, dude, yeah, you did do a new kitchen, but like you had a fine kitchen. Like the kitchen was fine, and the market would react fine to your kitchen, and like it had a lot of value. So you took components that actually had value, and you just threw them away, and then now you have these new components which they have value too. But I don't think you netted anything there. In fact, because you threw away a bunch of valuable stuff and then just put in more valuable stuff, but there wasn't a gain. So like I've seen stuff like that, but and I don't know, like a lot. I don't know. I don't
What
know how to
about
answer your question.
fixtures? Fixtures, if they change fixtures, does that change?
Light fixtures?
Yeah.
Yeah, it can. And so this is where people are like, they ask me, how does this one micro thing matter? How does just light fixtures? I go, oh man, appraisers don't weigh just light fixtures. We do weigh kitchen remodel. We do weigh bathroom remodel. We do weigh square footage in the basement finish. But when it comes down to like the individual component level,
It's like,
appraisers aren't really
whatever,
weighing those. But
yeah.
what they are doing is they're going to give your house a quality rating and a condition rating. And so with the condition, I kind of lump all these single things you're talking about. I go, she told me a bunch of things that individually don't matter, but I'm going to stack that and put it onto this condition. And I do think it's raised the condition because I'm going to raise the condition rating because of all the little things. But individually, they don't add anything. And so like maybe one person does 5 things and the other person does 20 things, and they're still all relatively insignificant alone, but I'm still going to rate both of those homes as the same condition because the scale only goes so high up and down. And so it's just knowing like, okay, have I done enough to get a condition rating? And if I can get in there, how far to the next level? Because if it's really expensive to get there, what do I get back for? So
Well, and then it's like, is the carpet good? Is it good carpet? Is your carpet worn out? Like, you don't like the color? Or is it like when you're replacing fixtures, I've had people go all from, well, gold or stainless steel or black, or that's out. So I'm going to replace all the hardware, all my doorknobs, all the everything. Well, is the brushed nickel bad? Because how much, like if you go
Because
replace all the
they
brushed
go and
nickel
buy
with
them.
rose gold color.
yeah.
Anybody? Who cares?
Who cares?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
See,
Well,
what
like,
about
let me give you another example. Sometimes people go, we went with this grade 10 granite, and it was this, it was the nicest granite on the lot. And it's like, okay, but you'll know this. Like, when have you ever had a buyer that said, what grade's that granite? What do you think the granite were? Like, they just don't, buyers aren't
No.
walking around typically
No.
grading granite. So it's like,
Yeah.
hey, once you get to like a pretty decent granite, the rest can be just for show sometimes, and like you don't recoup a ton.
Yeah.
Of that. So it's some slab from this part of Greece but whatever. And it's like, well, that's cool, but like I
that's
mean,
cool for you?
Yeah, it doesn't translate for me on an appraisal
Yeah.
because anyway, I can get into why it doesn't, but I mean it just doesn't really translate that easy.
So you spend $20,000 on a hibachi grill.
Oh, the hibachi. Remember that story? Yeah, that's a good story.
So
Yeah.
if you are looking to improve value, talk to your agent, talk to your lender. You might not know who the appraiser is, but also stuff on the exterior landscaping you can spend tons and tons of money on, and it may not increase the value at all.
Nothing.
So
Yeah.
make sure if you are spending money, it's improving something or adding square footage. That's
Yeah.
Yep.
So one of the things that I've seen also, and that's always my recommendation, like if you're going to finish your basement, put a kitchenette, because that makes it to sell faster. And does it affect the value of the house?
Yeah. And so like, and that's kind of where the lending comes in, because like, so like historically it's been, oh, you got a kitchen in the basement, great. But now he can do a loan and give, like if you say, hey, I'm going to rent my basement out for $1,500 a month, you used to could not do this, but now he can give you income credit for 75% of your rental. So he goes, okay, if you're making $1,500 a month, I can give you 75% of that as income to help you qualify. So now you can get the house you want. And so as that becomes more of a thing, and they might up it to 100 one day, like I don't know, but eventually it's going to keep going up, or more programs will be available with less down payments, and it'll still incorporate it. Like that's a kitchen in the basement will be more important because you have this income component that he can then use. Yeah. So yeah, I if it's not hard to get a kitchen and an entrance, and a laundry, I would say do it.
Block it off from the main dwelling space.
The thing is, like, sometimes people get scared of adding a kitchen when it's just like really not that difficult. Yeah. And even doing a door is not that difficult either. Sometimes, but you just need to figure out if it's difficult or not where you are. Yep. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joel.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. No, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Well, so can I tell you about the most?
Please.
The most uncomfortable I get when I appraise homes.
Okay. I didn't have this question.
We need to know
when I go to a house, the most uncomfortable I ever get is these situations. And most people don't know that this is a thing. There's a niche of people that they have naked photos of themselves in their house. And so like, and it's guys and girls, right? And so
I've actually been in a house.
And so it's like,
Really?
well, and so like you're there and like they're there, and their photos there, or like their wall of photos is there, and you're like, that's cool. Like I can't make eye contact. I don't know. I don't want to look at you. And it's weird because there's one time where this lady, and she had like 5 little kids, and they're all running around, and then I went into the primary bedroom, and there were a bunch of photos. And the kids were in there with me and everything. And I was just like, oh, man, this is just like there's this whole niche of society because you never know when it's going to hit you. Like you're just in some normal neighborhood in normal town, Utah, and boom, there you're like, oh, I don't know. Like that's where I get like really good. Like I got to go. Let's be quick about this. I don't want to.
You know, as a realtor, I always tell my clients when we're listing something, please take your personal pictures. Please move them so that people can remember your house and not your pictures.
Yeah.
But I guess some realtors miss that part to tell their clients, or the clients just don't want to do that.
That's always for refinances. That's for
okay.
Yeah, that's when they're refinancing. They're in the house, and they're like, we just need to refinance. Not that refinancing is even a thing anymore.
Yeah. It's less common.
Yeah. That's where appraisers go.
Okay.
I don't know about this.
Thank you for sharing that.
I gotta go.
I have off his work.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, again,
is there anything else where that makes you like you won't go on and you're like, whoa. Tomatoes, family photos.
Yeah, the hibachi grill guy, that was funny, but like.
So you have to tell us what
the
happened.
hibachi grill. So this guy. So it's really common, like our generation and younger. We don't use formal dining rooms. Like we use our kitchen bar, and like maybe we have a little table there too. But like we don't ever get up and go into. We just don't really do that. Maybe once a year max. So a lot of people are taking their formal dining room in these houses, like 2010 and older, kind of have them very frequently. So they repurposed them into whatever. So this guy had repurposed his formal dining room into a hibachi grill, and he was so excited, like a professional, like commercial grade. It was nice, the fan, and
tens of thousands of dollars of value.
I think he said $100,000. It was like $100,000. Wow. And then, dude, he said $100,000, and this is like 12 years ago. I did this appraisal. I mean, it was a long time ago. And I was like, dang, man. I mean, $100,000 was an expensive thing
lot.
back then. Now it's less, but it's still.
But it's still, yeah.
Still, yeah. And so I
Yeah.
was like, oh my. He goes, I spent $100,000 on this, and he's like, what do you think this does to my value? This hibachi grill. He was so proud, and I was like, and I'm just sitting there thinking, and I'm trying to get in that mindset of, I'm an expert buyer, I'm an expert seller. How's the market going to look at hibachi grill? So I was like, oh man, dude. First off, you got to know, I have to go, in order to say what the value is, I have to go find a home that's sold, that has it, and then say, hey, it sold this much more than the houses around it, and that's how much the hibachi grill gives it. And so there's no homes that have it. And so I'm like, okay, from that standpoint, which is the true market standpoint, it's zero, right? But then from like, let's talk about the realistic standpoint. My kids will burn my house down if I so I'm like, okay. So I would actually want you to get rid of it. If I'm buying it, I would say, could you take that with you, or I'm just going to sell it?
Yeah.
I'm just going to try to find
Give it on KSL.
teppanyaki and see if they need like a replacement or something. But like, so I was like, I mean, it's going to be a net. You maybe find a chef who's wanting to move to your neighborhood, and that's your best bet. But if you don't find a chef who's a hardcore, like teppanyaki's trained,
Who wants to work when he gets home?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, I don't think that there's a lot of value to this.
Yeah.
And he did not like that, but I was like, man, what else do I do? What else can I say? Like, I can't give it value. If I give it value, your underwriter's going to go,
Prove it.
Why'd you give it value? Prove it. And I'm going to say, I can't. And then that's where it is. That's
Yeah.
where it ends. So anyway,
Yeah.
the teppanyaki, the hibachi grill was
Yeah.
fun. And that was just in the typical, I mean, it wasn't typical. It was nicer, on the nicer end of homes in South Jordan, right by the district. So it was a fun house.
Wow.